Welcome to Paradigm Playbook, the podcast on the business of sports. With 50 plus years of experience, Steve Cook shares insights weekly, featuring top playmakers shaping the industry. Get ready to script your next play. Now, here's your host.
Hello and welcome to Paradigm Playbook. I'm Steve Cook, your host, and I have with me today Jordan Bailey, who's a good friend and a business partner of sorts that we're going to talk about her journey. If you listen to the 2-minute drill earlier in the week, we talked about the acquisition entrepreneur, and that's someone who buys a business specifically to grow it, and then you can either take it to scale or you can sell it. I felt Jordan fell into this bucket pretty easily. Jordan, why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience, your background as it relates to business and sports.
Thanks for that, Steve. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you so much. I'm Jordan Bailey, and I own Central Oregon Gymnastics Academy, and that's in Bend, Oregon. My husband and I bought the club about 3 years ago. And prior to that, my background had been in the business world. I've been in real estate primarily. I have a personal background in sports. I grew up in a very athletic family. My dad was a professional athlete, and I grew up playing all different sports, kind of year-round athlete. I primarily played team sports all through school, but my husband and I have 2 daughters that are gymnasts, and they're now 14 and 16. They've been in it since they were kiddos. So we had a unique opportunity a few years ago. We'd been at our club for a long time through our kids, and we saw that the owner was really ready to step away, and the club was not in great shape coming out of COVID, and after just I think a few years of burnout, it was just a good time for us to take on a new adventure, and this felt really like the right thing for us. My husband was also an athlete as well, and we own an action sports nonprofit and run some camps through our local parks and rec, and have always stayed kind of in the sports world. So this was a good time to kind of marry our business and sports worlds. And we purchased the club a little over 3 years ago, and I took over full-time day-to-day operations. And when we first purchased the club, we had about 130 kids across all programs. We're about an 8,000 square foot facility. And there was about 130, 140 kids across all programs. There were about 4 staff, just Monday through Thursday, really. Then team practices on Friday. Closed in the summers. And just really an underperforming, underutilized space. The facility had become fairly run down, and things were being just not really stewarded super well. And so when we took it on, we really had our work cut out for us. And I'm just really proud that in that time, in that 3 years, we've grown. We have about 1,000 kids coming through our doors in regular programs every month versus 130 when we started. We're open 7 days a week. We have thriving programs across multiple different kind of disciplines, and an active summer camp, birthday parties, all of that. We're busting at the seams, and we're looking forward to some expansion. We have about 30 staff now, and it's just been a really exciting journey, and it's been challenging and rewarding, and just something that we've been really proud of.
Thank you, Jordan. At the end of the podcast, we'll get a little bit into the future. But for right now, I want to go back. It's kind of like buying a used car. Am I buying an opportunity or am I buying a headache? How hard was that decision?
Sure. I think there's always going to be a little bit of that just pause of, is this going to really come back and bite us? Is this going to be something that we regret? But I think that I went into it pretty optimistic, just based on kind of my core belief in the power of sports. And I think that if presented the right way, sports are an opportunity that are just so universal. It doesn't matter what community you live in, what city you live in, the size, the number of competition, all of that. I think that it's something that is just so permeated within our culture in a really good way. And so I felt pretty confident that if we could turn it around and if we could create the right opportunity at the right time, that things would do well. I mean, that's exceeded our expectation, but you definitely do hope that it pays off. I think I maybe underestimated the amount of work that it was going to take me in the short term. The first 6 to 9 months were a lot, but then you start settling into a pace, and we haven't looked back.
Jordan is unique in that she does very little, if any, coaching. Do you coach at all?
Not if I can help it. Not if everyone shows up to work and everything works well. So
yeah, Jordan's a business owner, and in the gymnastics world, there are certainly plenty of them, but I would say it's the minority of club owners that don't coach. When you went in there and you described a few of the problems, There was a cosmetic thing, there was a culture thing, there was maybe a staff attitude thing. How do you decide what you're going to attack first?
So for me, I've always felt that you're only as strong as your team. I think this is to your point earlier of so many club owners are coaches and we're former athletes. And I think that's a really natural way to find yourself in this industry. But where I sometimes see that as a shortcoming is I've interacted with other club owners who really can't scale. They have to have a hand in every single part of their club, including spending a significant amount of time coaching, running the office, running all the programming, running all the departments, managing all the staff. And there comes a point where you can only do so much as one person. And I knew that if we wanted to scale, which was always my goal, was really to blow the lid off the performance of the place. I knew that we needed good people. So I really early on started just trying to identify strong leaders that were within the team. Of those 4 or so employees that were here when I purchased the club 3 years ago, 2 of them are still here today. One of them is our club manager, and she is phenomenal. She's my right hand. She's incredible. She was just a coach when we bought the place. And our rec director, our rec program, which is our largest program, our rec director was also a coach when we bought the place. So we quickly had to start scaling our teams. And so just empowering leaders to help us do that was probably first and foremost. The other thing was the facility. I spent a lot of time and attention on the facility. I think we've all walked into the club and you kind of smell the club as you're walking through the door. And, this is sports, this is kids, and it's going to get stinky. But I think really prioritizing being just a clean, well-organized, well-cared for facility so that first impression when they walk in are important. So I think those were my 2 initial plans of attack.
It's interesting, and I would agree with you. Getting the people right in the beginning. In his book, Gino Wickham talks about getting the right people in the right seats. So sometimes you have the right person, but in the wrong seat. And sometimes you have a manager that should be a coach. And so figuring all that, when you came in, and this is a kind of a tough situation, you come in and you're doing your evaluation. Do you spot something and say, okay, that person doesn't fit in? So are there any subtractions early on?
Definitely. I think that pretty quickly, the other 2 employees that were here when we purchased it, they went their own way. The culture at the club was really different, and in my opinion, had gotten kind of sick. I'm really strong about our culture here. I think it makes or breaks an environment, and we're really intentional about our culture. And so I think pretty early on, just like bad behavior wasn't going to be tolerated, and there were just an elevated level of expectations. So those people really kind of took care of themselves. So we were almost starting from scratch, like I said, besides those 2 key employees. But I did get it wrong early on with a few of my initial hires. And that was just because of the learning curve of the industry and what ingredients really truly made a great coach or a great department lead or what have you. And I think that was a tough lesson to learn, a painful lesson to learn even, but so important and really informed kind of my hiring and managing practices now. And I think that's probably a pitfall that a lot of people fall into, is just getting some of those initial new hires wrong. And I would just say not being afraid to move and act on that quickly. Nobody enjoys firing. Nobody enjoys turnover. I mean, that all is challenging. The culture can be swayed so quickly. And I think that's a really important key factor to remain focused.
I get that your clientele was low, but how did you announce it to the customers? Was that tricky or was that easy?
Yeah. So we did have the benefit. The previous owner of the club is wonderful. I mean, she was ready to be done for sure, but she was really very helpful in the transition. She would answer any questions I had, and she passed over her client database, her email list. Now, that's not necessarily something that every person buying a club would have. That was a great benefit to us. So we had a few hundred email from her semi-recent clients. And then we had the database. We had all of our current client information. So we started out by just sending out an email announcement to our current clients and just introducing ourselves. We spent a lot of time and intention and money right away by redesigning our website, freshening up our lobby. I mean, we did a lot of kind of upgrades and refresh in the first month of ownership. And then we sent out kind of our official announcement after that. So we wanted to already, with the announcement of the change in ownership, we wanted to add value. We wanted to have something exciting to share. And that was pretty great. I think our transition in ownership was really, really well supported by most of our customers and families. They immediately saw a lot of those upgrades. They saw the club getting cleaner. They saw the culture being shifted. They saw our systems change for the better. Things got more organized. So I think generally people received it really well. The hardest pinch point for transition for us was for sure our competitive team. And that just comes from, those kids spend so much time in the gym and they get so adjusted to their routines and their coaching methodologies and all of that. It's just such a different kind of deal than our day in, day out rec and tots classes. The previous ownership was the competitive coach, her and her daughter. And so they left when we purchased the club. So I brought with me our head coach, and she's still here with us today. And she's done an incredible job with our team program. It really took a year of really building relationships and working on building trust with the kids for that transition to happen.
One, you took care of your team, your people, your staff. Talked about being visible to the customers that you were doing positive changes, both with culture and facility and cleaning. But you haven't dug in yet. How do you grow from 200 to 900 or 1,000? Is it new programs, more advertising?
I think there's a few things that are in the stew there. I think one of the things that I identified early on was the reason that there was so few participants in our program when we purchased it had most to do with just the programming offered and available. Like I said, it was only open to rec classes 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. So we immediately really got intentional about hiring and scaling. And I'm all about maximizing the facility and the times that you have in the day. So we'd immediately moved to a model where we were doubling or tripling our classes that were available. And we had decent wait lists, especially once we started really refreshing the place and people knew about the new ownership. For me, I never want to see a family sit on a wait list. If we have wait lists building up, that's indicative of us needing to open up new classes and new programs and new opportunities. So I'm pretty aggressive about how often we're adding new classes. We've definitely gotten to the point where from just a physical space standpoint, again, we're working with our entire facilities, 8,000 square feet, but our main gym space is probably closer to about 5.5. And we have about 1,000 kids through a week. So we're really maximizing our time in our space, very continuous, and all the coaches had continuity. We worked on just fun culture things. We added a new skills bell. We do a lot of really fun call and response in our gym. We just made our gym a really fun place to be. And I think the other things that we did were really focusing. I'm all about opening up auxiliary programs that bring in new kids into your facility. So really blowing the lid off our birthday party, right? Every birthday party is a marketing opportunity. You're going to get 20 to 40 kids at a party who maybe would have never otherwise been in your facility along with their parents. And that's a huge opportunity. We really jumped into doing camps. So we do school year closure camps and summer break camps, and we're getting a different kind of clientele. We added diversity to our programming. So we don't just offer gymnastics. We now have tumbling and tricking and a boys program, which is kind of a parkour. We do, adults, we do some fitness group classes. We really tried to diversify. I'm pretty heavy on the digital marketing. So I have a personal sphere database that I've built over the years that has probably 8,000 to 9,000 people in it that I market to regularly. We pay attention to our website. SEO is important. We keep really active on social media. I do all of the digital media marketing for our company, but if that's not a skill set you have, you need to invest in someone who can help you keep your digital footprint strong and your marketing pieces looking clean and professional. I think that really matters. So it's a multi-tiered effort. There was no one magic thing that we did. I think it's just being really intentional and really maximizing the space. I know a lot of club owners who don't want their gym to feel as full. They want more open space. They want more, and that's just not the way we roll. We utilize every area of our gym pretty much all day long. And that is a huge key to it.
When you put that many kids in a gym, if you're not curriculum based, if you're not systematized, if you don't have processes, every kid needs to know which way they come in, which way they go out, which direction they walk. The higher the population, the more the one-way streets. So Jordan and I hit it off immediately because I talk, and a lot of you have heard me talk in terms of max capacity, and I judge everything on starting at max capacity and then working up the percentages, how we can do that. Jordan, I want to jump into the future now a minute. Congrats on the success. It's awesome. I'm so proud of you. I love seeing it. I love seeing the gym. Jordan ran her first invitational gymnastic meet this year with like 400 kids, or pretty big meet.
Yeah, pretty good for our first year. It was really awesome. We were excited to do it and look forward to next year.
And those around me know that I'm all about growth, and there's 100 ways to grow after your gym is full. And so Jordan's picking up on those. some of the
Mhm.
suggestions that I brought, programs to add, and she's squeezing them in. We just in the last year, Jordan added a ninja program, so we had to fit in a ninja rig, and we
Yep.
figured out a way for the team to do fitness training on ninja. Again,
Mm.
it all comes with fun.
Yeah.
What's lying ahead in the next couple of years?
We pretty quickly realized that our space that we had here was not going to keep up with demand. So we are pretty well max capacity 7 days a week. We've got wait lists for many of our programs. And so we started looking at an expansion. That's a process that started a couple years ago. So really just after 1 year in business, we knew we needed to grow. So that's where Steve and I met. And it was just so clear that your expertise and your background was what we needed, what I needed to help wrap my head around an expansion and getting to the next level. So after about a year, a little over a year now of working together, we are excited to say that we're pushing towards a really exciting expansion project. We're looking to develop about a 40,000 square foot space, hoping to break ground later this summer. And that space is going to feature gymnastics and gymnastics adjacent. So a lot of the same stuff, tricking, tumbling, parkour. And then it's going to have multi-sport court facility, space for rental, space for events, just really an exciting expansion for us. With that, we get to marry our background in action sports as well. So that's going to be a multi-phase project. And we look forward to phase 2 of that being an indoor skate park as well. So all of the things that we are passionate about and care about are all culminating into this next phase for us. Exciting and intimidating. And the biggest thing you touched on earlier was just really dialing in those systems. I think that's the most important thing for us now is Steve and I, you and I really share that passion of I'm all about max capacity. I'm all about as many different avenues for engagement as you have. I think the more specialized you get, the more doors you're closing with potential families who want to be engaged with you and what you offer. So we're staying really diverse. We're staying really intentional with our programming and our systems and really excited for the growth.
Jordan and Jacob have been working on this for almost a year. The building's been designed, the building's been identified, the building's been leased. The small piece of it is the building's not built yet. Jordan and I meet every week and we're working on the new project. Jordan is still running the old one and still growing the old one. One of the questions that I ask Jordan every week that is probably annoying, but I ask it anyway is, so when are we breaking ground? And we're close though, right? We're
Yeah.
within a month or two of breaking ground.
Yeah, we're
And
excited.
then we're hoping we can get the building built in about a year.
Mhm.
It's going to be exciting. The 40,000 square feet. It sounds huge, but it's phase 1. And then there's
Mhm.
another 20,000 square feet to follow. And it's part of a children's community where there's going to be there's a swim school going in and I think a volleyball. So there's a lot of different child sports. And those that know Bend know that it's an extremely active community. Do you think you could have done the big project if you hadn't first, been through what you were through with the 8,000 square feet?
Yeah, no way. I mean, I think Steve, you and I talk about this a lot. In order to feel solid about the expansion, we're working so hard right now to make sure that we have such solid systems, really, really dialed training and hiring practices, a really solid leadership team, right? So delegation, many people shepherding different programs really well. I think that is all positioning us to be able to grow in a way that feels exciting and sustainable and manageable. We were able to learn our lessons early on a smaller scale when the stakes were lower. And I'm so grateful for that. I don't think that's a leap I would have ever taken had we not taken the leap to first buy this place and to first try our hand at rehabbing this club and seeing if we could turn it around. And I think just to see your efforts in real time, to see the fruit of your labor right in front of you, to see that grow, it's so rewarding. It's inspiring and exciting. So I would say, if there's someone out there who's thinking about taking that leap, do your homework, do your due diligence, make sure you're up for the challenge, but then go for it. It's incredible. And there's nothing more rewarding than just pouring into like kids and sports and just supporting them in that pursuit. It's been a journey. It's been fun.
I think those in the Bend community that have seen what you've done over the last 3 years are more likely to jump in support. I
Mhm.
don't doubt that your success was the reason you got the deal on the building you got, the space you got, the support you got, what the
Yeah.
community did, because you proved yourself. I never think anybody dreams too big. So I'm excited by this. And as amazing as it sounds, from 8,000 to 40,000 to 60,000, every once in a while in the conversation, Jacob will start talking about site number 2. And I got to admit, it scares me a little bit, but I'm so excited. So what I tried to hit on today was from acquisition to enormity. And Jordan, you're a great example for all of us to learn from. Is there any other advice that you want to add to our listeners?
Yeah, I definitely do want to just say that nothing that I've done, nothing that we've done in this industry has been just on our own and just based on our own knowledge and our own background. I'm a huge advocate for find mentors, find people who have gone before you and do the things that you want to do, find people who have a lot more knowledge than you do, and just don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, Steve is a huge proponent of that. He's been such a support to us and one of the main reasons that we felt that we could even go for this. But I just got off the phone this morning. I'm having a hard time figuring out how I want to program part of my ninja cage for little kids. I reached out to another gym that's doing what we're doing and they're doing it better and they've been doing it longer, and had an awesome conversation just this morning. If you put yourself out there and you try to get as connected as you can in your industry, whatever that is, just don't be afraid to ask for help and don't be afraid to be humble and admit that you're new or that you might be ignorant on a topic. And I've just found an overwhelming number of people who are so excited to help support and share in their knowledge. And I just think that's the only way to grow and to do big things, is to rely on other people as well. So yeah, thanks for being part of that support system, Steve.
No problem. It's been great, and I'm so looking forward to the future. So everyone, thank you for joining Paradigm Playbook today. So Jordan, thank you very much. Everyone, make it a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to Paradigm Playbook. Explore more at paradigmplaybook.com. Want to be a playmaker? Contact stephenjcook.com. Share this episode to spread the word about sports industry opportunities. See you next week.